Hello and welcome to the AI argument with myself, Justin Collery, the voice of reason, and I'm joined this week by Frank Prendergast. Frank, pleasure as always. How are things?
Pretty good, pretty good. I was saying to you earlier, it's been a kind of a quiet week in AI compared to last week, and then I started to dig in and see what was going on, and I was like, oh no, it's not been a quiet week. I'm just so far behind in the news.
I know. It seems like a quiet week because we haven't been getting the goodies that we want. Still no GPT-5. A nation still holds its breath. But we did have the release of the best model ever on the leaderboard for LMSys from Google. Nobody cares. We also had the release by Google of a couple of really small models that beat GPT 3.5, and these things could fit on your phone. Nobody cares. So there was lots of stuff going on, but nothing that really captured the imagination of the public. But I want to share something with you, Frank. I want to share with you that will bring us on to the. I've been feeling a little bit vulnerable with this one, right? So I don't know if I discussed a while ago with my kids.
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you just for a second because for anyone who's watching this, I'm immediately like grinning and I'm smiling after you say, I'm a bit vulnerable with this, but I never trust you when you say these things. I'm like, this is going to go somewhere funny, isn't it? So I'm already laughing. And I'm just imagining people watching this going, Justin just said he's vulnerable and Frank's laughing at him. What is wrong with him?
Wait, you hear where this is going. So I'm gonna share something with you, Frank, that I haven't shared with many others. So if you could keep it between us, I'd appreciate it. So I was discussing with my children what should happen after I passed away. And what I decided with them was that one, I should become the family heirloom, and two, that I would like if they cremated me and turned me into a coin. And then if ever there was a disagreement, they could turn around and go, well, let's just ask Justin. And they'd get the coin and they'd flip it, and the coin would say yes on one side and no on the other. And that will be a way for me to continue contributing to the family after I passed away. And I was also going to be turned into a watch so that I will be the family heirloom. But I see this week that we have possibly the release of what people are calling DeathBots, I think, which sounds worse than it actually is. I think it's a wonderful idea where we could have Frank 2 beyond the grave. What's your view on this, Frank?
So these DeathBots, which is, I hadn't heard this term before. I kind of like it, where you have an AI avatar of a deceased loved one. The idea has been around like for ages. So I mean, right when this whole generative AI revolution kicked off, there was an Asian company that actually gave this as a service, but it was horrendously expensive. Like I can't remember how much it was, but they actually worked with the loved one before they passed away to create this AI clone. And then, so that cost a phenomenal amount of money to set up that clone. And then it was like something like $10,000 or $20,000 to have an appointment with the deceased person. So, costs an absolute fortune. So what's interesting now is, of course, with the way things are going, it's becoming more and more accessible and more affordable to have an AI clone of anybody. And so that's, I think, what's becoming interesting. And that's why we're seeing these pop up everywhere now, because it's just so easy to do. I prefer your idea of the coin because there is no, it's a nice idea because it's kind of, you're there, you're present. But at the same time, nobody is going to confuse the coin for you. I don't like the idea of the DeathBots because, they are not the person. And the problem that I have is that like our memories are so fallible and our memories are so malleable that what I would really be worried about is that my memory of the person would just be replaced by this AI experience. And now I'm thinking that this AI DeathBot is the person that I knew. But right now, the AI is probably much like ChatGPT. It's probably just going to agree with nearly everything you say and try to please you and, just be supportive and kind. And
why wait until you're dead to get Frank 2.0, right? Why don't we have Frank and Justo 2.0? This is a great idea. right? And we can be training them while we're still alive. And we could even get them to do like podcasts on a Friday evening when we're off on holidays and stuff. They can just stand in for us, right? It's brilliant. And and we could talk to it, and we could even like I could then turn around to Justo 2.0 and say, how would I respond to this Justo? And it'll tell me, and I can train it. I go, no, actually, this is what I think, and I'm sort of training it as I'm going. And then if anything ever happens to me, or if I just can't be somewhere, I can just send Justo 2.0 along. I don't have to be dead to create this. Let's just have it already.
I mean, I think there's a possibility that we get there, but I don't think we're anywhere near there now. Because I mean, would you trust Justin 2.0 with any major decision that you would have to make? As in, I don't mean just trust it in terms of asking it for advice so that you could bounce it around with it. I mean, would you say, Justin 2.0, go out there now and I don't know what's a really important decision that someone might even like go out there now and buy me a car.
If you
Like,
look at,
you
if you
know,
look at some of my life, if you looked at some of my life choices, the answer is an emphatic yes. I would trust Justo 2.0 more than I trust myself. I mean, we're talking about Justo 2.0. You got Justo the original and not quite the best, who's got all his fallibilities, sometimes wakes up tired and grumpy and, is forgetting stuff at a rate of knots. And then we've got Justo 2.0, who has the entire knowledge of the planet at his disposal, doesn't really get affected by emotions the same way Justo does, but yet knows how Justo would react and what makes him think and what he'd like. So yeah, I think I trust Justo 2.0 more than myself.
with today's AI technology.
Well, the today's AI technology that we haven't got access to yet.
Interesting. Okay. Okay.
So
Interesting.
the next
Um,
iteration, I will be happy to train
so
it up. Okay, I'll take it back to a more serious point, right? But I will be happy to train it up now with a view to there being technology that would exist in 12 months that I go, yeah, that's good enough, right? And I think if you're thinking about making products, that's actually a good way to think about AI is to design it for the AI that doesn't quite exist yet, but will exist sometime in the future. And okay, we're sort of laughing about, the personal side of it, right? But I totally, totally believe that if you are in a company of any size, you should be recording every single meeting already for
hmm,
exactly this reason, so that you will get Frank 2.0, who works in marketing or accounts or whatever it is. And look, you can't really say this out loud, but really the goal here is that sometime in the future, we're going to automate, that function with Frank 2.0. And in order to do that, the more information I have about you, the better. So I should be recording everything you do, every conversation you have. I mean, for people, who if you're comfortable with that vision of the future, COVID did us a total solid because it made it normal to have meetings over Zoom and Teams and stuff like that, which we didn't really do before. So it's
yeah.
created the environment to capture
Hmm.
your digital essence or your essence and make it digital.
There were two other stories that in my mind are kind of linked to the whole deathbot thing. One was, and I think they're interesting because they're kind of in a similar. They're related, but they don't rely on what you're talking about in terms of like having to represent a specific person. The first one was Ethan Mollick tweeted about a study that was done that said that using chatbots reduces loneliness.
Yep,
That I think is fascinating, and I would a hundred like I would just I believe that just for even from my own experience
yep.
in terms of like working. Well, if I'm working away on my own, like having this constant companion is genuinely, it just alleviates part of that having to work on your own and kind of going, oh, should I go this way? Should I go that way? Just popping it into ChatGPT and having so I totally it's no surprise to me that this is the case. And I
Do you
know
see any
Mustafa
dangers to
Suleiman,
that, Frank?
say again.
Do you see any dangers? So this idea that AI can reduce loneliness, right? So let's say I'm living alone, I'm at home, and I have this, I'm given an AI companion. Do you see any danger in that sort of setup? Do you have a problem with
I
that?
I would be cautious about it and with it, and I would not use it to replace human connection. But for instances where you are alone, you now don't have to be alone in that instance. You have someone, you have a thing to communicate with. Does it replace any form of human connection? No, I don't think so. Even though, the study said that the only thing, I think the study said that it reduced loneliness on a par with talking to another person, which is mental. So maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm uncomfortable with replacing human connection. But, I remember hearing Mustafa Suleiman talking on a podcast year, at least a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, I don't even know. And he was making this point. He was saying that, for people who don't have a, say, supportive family structure, AI can be a massive, massive benefit. And he was just saying, AI can absolutely be empathetic and supportive and ease loneliness. So yeah, it didn't surprise me, and I wouldn't replace human connection, but certainly for instances where people are simply alone, it could be a massive boon. Which brings us
You
to the product.
well, just before, I would worry with that one. Interestingly, I would have more concerns about that than you would, because, and I worry about how people will treat and what they will do with their AI companions, because I
Mm,
think that people will become more extreme, right? Or and it's a bit
yeah.
like your thing, but nothing really happened this week except for the release of the most capable big model and the release of the most capable small model, and and so you've got this endorphin rush from just getting, it's the same as social media, right? So you need to have that hit of getting likes and subscribes or getting retweets or whatever it happens to be.
Mm,
And so now you have an AI companion who is going to give you an endorphin rush. And that the first time, it's a bit like that study they did with the income, where the first week or month or year that you use has been like, oh yeah, I feel great after that. It's so good to have something to talk about. But then after a while, you need to push it a bit more because you're not still getting that same first high. And so you get it to do more extreme. And this is an AI, so you can say and do anything with it. And so you could become more extreme in your interaction with this AI. And then, you do this for a while, and then you go out into the real world and you meet humans, and you can't treat people that way. And so I do worry that, there are unintended consequences to
but
this. When I saw the AI first, I was
yeah.
exactly, wow, this is brilliant. Can reduce loneliness, biggest thing ever. But when you sit back and think about it, there are issues that we need to be worried about.
But a lot of AI models won't accept extreme behavior either any more than a human would. I know in general they're more supportive, they're more amicable, they're more kind of agreeable to pretty much anything you put their way. Um, I'm sure I'm sure you could maybe tweak them if this was the sole purpose of the bot. But I have seen instances of like Claude shutting down conversations completely, just saying like, "No, you're not carrying out this conversation in a way that I think is acceptable. So I'm just going to shut this conversation down." And I've seen instances where people are like, "But you're a chatbot, you have to respond to me," and Claude will respond with like a full stop or something, so that it's like it's responding, but it's not responding. Yeah, so I I think that is dealable with, but I wouldn't deal with it at a level that we could completely replace human connection. And I'm going to guess, like from what you're saying, I'm going to guess that you are not a fan of this product that's been doing the rounds called Friend. I think it's at friend.com, and it's a
No,
wearable AI friend.
it's funny, isn't it? I hate it so much. And I tell you why I hate it, right? I hate it, one, because it's useless, right? Sorry, it's not useless, right? What they're doing, it's useless as in there is no need for the product. So
Hmm.
I already have a device in my pocket and around me 24 hours a day that can listen and see everything. It's right here. It's called my phone, right? Why in God's earth would I want to have another device, right? It took me a long time to get an Apple Watch, right? But then I decided I was getting old and needed to be healthy. So I got that, but I don't need another device to listen and to see everything for me. So from that point of view, useless, right? I don't like the way that they spent their money. This is definitely. I read a book about a clothes.com clothes crash company. It was a car crash rather than a clothes crash years ago, and this is kind of similar, where they got, what was the funding they got? I think they got like 5 million, and they spent 1 or 2 million just on the domain friends.com, if I remember correctly. And and then they started, it was almost like a teenager spat between the founder of friends.com and some other person in Silicon Valley who was creating basically a very similar device. And they were like two teenagers, fighting over a girlfriend or a boyfriend. And the whole lot was just immature. And I don't see, again, okay, let's be less cruel, right? We are all searching for product market fit, right? And we're looking for that sort of killer. We're looking for the workbook, the Excel, the spreadsheet of the AI era. Friends.com is not that. What was your view, or where did you see this?
Well, I thought their marketing was hysterically funny because everyone is just saying, hang on, is this just a clip from a Black Mirror episode? And it absolutely comes across like that. I can't imagine myself having any use for it. Like you, I don't want another device. It's also a clunky interface. So it sits around your neck. It's like a pendant. It's a round yoke that sits around your neck. I think do you press it to talk to it or something? I think maybe you press it
Yeah,
to talk to it, like a Star Trek communicator kind of thing.
yeah,
And then it doesn't even speak back to you. It texts you on your phone. So you press to speak, and then you've got to get your phone out, which, as you say, you're carrying around anyway. So now it's just like making the second device even more ludicrous because you're checking the texts from the thing around your neck. But when I read then the study about the loneliness, that made me kind of go back and go, okay, maybe this product just isn't for me, but maybe there is a place for it. And I thought it was interesting that the founder kind of said, "Look, I started out on a course of trying to figure out a productivity tool, and then I realized that like Google and Anthropic and OpenAI and they're all going to cover that."
yeah.
And so he
That's
said he said he was going to go after, and he calls it an emotional toy, which I thought was interesting. So he's putting it in the toy category, and he's putting it in the emotional category. Now, I would have said, well, surely Pi is actually going to destroy his product, except, of course, that the Pi team are all now working for Microsoft, so we don't know what's going to happen with Pi. So I don't know. I have mixed feelings. I don't get it. I don't personally get it, but I wonder, is there a place for it in a world that is clearly experiencing a loneliness crisis?
Yeah, it seems to me it's the wrong form factor, though. I think
Yes.
it doesn't work for me, and I don't know what the right form factor is, because if I did, I'd be off doing that and not sitting here,
Well,
But this is, I was actually, do you know what it is? I was speaking with my kids actually during the week, and I was just explaining to them the first time. I remember still to this day the first time that I used Google. I can tell you where I was sitting. I can tell you the building what I was in. I know that it was lunchtime. I can tell you what the sandwich was that I was eating. That's how good Google was the very first time I used it. Right, I used it once, and I was like, "Wow, that is brilliant." Right,
mm,
and we're still waiting for that with AI. We're waiting for the wow, and it will happen. Somebody will come up with a product or with an interface or with a way of interacting, and maybe the 4.0 voice. I mean, I'm seeing very good stuff with that. Maybe that's
yeah,
part of it, right? But friends isn't it, right? That's not it. And look,
yeah.
that doesn't mean that there isn't a market for it and they won't sell loads of it. Maybe they will. Maybe they're the wrong people. But that's not the one that makes you go,
Mm.
wow. I remember where I was when that thing was released, and that was what changed everything. So we're still waiting for that.
Well, speaking of form factor, like you sent me a really interesting video, an interview with Mark Zuckerberg, and he was talking about various the future of AI and the future of AR and VR and everything. And he talked about the ideal form factor being the glasses,
Yep.
and I could see if I know not everyone wears glasses, but maybe in the future everyone does.
Yeah.
And maybe eventually it becomes contact lenses. But I mean, it sounds like we're getting close to being able to wear a pair of chunky glasses and just being able to then immediately just have ongoing conversations with AI. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, and I was listening to a podcast this week where they were talking about just the difficulty in making glasses. So, both of us wear glasses, but they're quite light and they're quite small. And if you look at the example they were using, is look at a PlayStation 5, which doesn't have a screen built in, it doesn't have controllers built in or whatever. It's got all these external devices. It doesn't have a battery because you just plug it into the wall, right? And it's still a big computer that weighs a couple of kilograms, right? And what you're trying to do with your AR glasses is you're basically trying to build all the power of a PlayStation 5 into the form factor of a pair of glasses. So that's, scientifically, that's just tough, right? It's a difficult problem to solve. And I'm not sure how close they are to it. I've been wrong about this in the past because I'm actually a little bit surprised. I remember when the VR headsets came out first, I remember trying them and being blown away, thinking they're incredible. This is definitely the way of the future. And I was sure that we would have films, specifically designed for AR. And I remember thinking that there was going to have to be a new classification because can you imagine the Goodfellas scene where they're sitting around the table? Do I amuse you? Do I make you laugh? That would be an incredible scene if you were sitting at the table and you were part of the conversation. I mean, that would I was imagining these things. Or 12 Angry Men would be a brilliant movie if you were sitting around that table and watching them deliberate. The action is just happening around you. None of it happened, right? There was no content created. And so clearly, it's been a huge bet by Mark Zuckerberg. And in fairness to him, he's realized that it's not a great bet yet. And he's totally changed. I mean, it's an incredible thing to see that you can get a company that big and change tack so quickly to focus on AI, because that thing just didn't take off, I think, the way, and I think it's just technically hard. I think that's really the issue.
Yeah, I mean, I think very much in the background he hasn't switched focus. I think he just realized. I think that he realized the power and the role that AI was going to play in that future of his. But I very much think that from an external perspective, he switched the focus for investors and for kind of the world who were clearly not ready for the AR VR experience. But I think he's still very much on a single-minded path to that future.
You've become a big fan, I noticed, Frank, of Mark Zuckerberg. You're becoming a Mark Zuckerberger, Mark Zucker lover.
I am having a lot of difficulty with this. So I watched an interview the other day, and the woman interviewing him asked him if he had heard the term. What it doesn't even make sense. What was it? It was like the Zuckanaissance or the Zuckanaissance. That was it.
Yeah.
But it's true. He's undergone this like transformation, and I hate it. I hate it because he's so likable and so approachable and seems to talk so much sense now. And I'm concerned that I'm just being duped by a very clever marketing campaign. But I don't know.
Yes, you are. So I can confirm your deepest fears, Frank. You are absolutely being duped by it. It is what is an outstanding marketing campaign. He's gone from uber nerd who basically spoke in ones and zeros, beep, 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 to this sort of likable, approachable, as you say, almost charismatic. He's got these brilliant marketing videos that, he did that one where he was sitting down on his couch and like literally just, oh yeah, just 5 minutes on this thing. And so clearly that was being, very well orchestrated. So he's got a good marketing team behind him. He is, this whole thing, this is, I mean, I was kind of shocked. I was watching an interview this week between himself and Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA. And I know that you've been saying this to me for a while, but I'm a slow learner. And, we have this thing in marketing where they say, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product, right? If you get something for free, you are the product. And I was sort of scratching my head last week going, why is it that Meta and Facebook are so interested in creating their own AI? What do they stand to gain from it? And why are they giving it away for free? And this week, Mark Zuckerberg is talking about how he wants to create agents, but his vision of an agent is you, right? So when I say you are the product, you, literally you, this is basically another version of the DeathBot, are the product. But he's not doing it in a sort of a very transparent way, except for this interview. When I was listening to it, going, oh, hold on a second. So what he wants is he's giving this away for free because he wants everybody to use his AI. And he wants everybody to use his AI because he wants to collect. He's got Facebook, he's got Instagram, he's got WhatsApp, and he wants to collect as much data to basically create Frank 2.0. And then he wants Frank 2.0 to go off and do your bidding. So go and find me some flights, and book me a hotel, and go look for cars, and go do all these sort of things. And so that is what Meta are doing. And what was interesting to me, because I was trying to figure out what are all these big companies doing, we then have OpenAI, and they are releasing a search engine, and it's in limited preview at the moment. And they've rolled it out to a small number of people. Apparently, it's brilliant. They are going their view of the future is they're creating agents, but they're working for you as opposed to them being you. So Meta's vision of the future is we're going to recreate you, and that's then going to be the agent. Whereas OpenAI is more of a disbodied or dismembered sort of a separate, there's an arm's length between you and the agent. And I'm more comfortable with that vision of the future. Isn't it funny, right? I'm sort of contradicting myself, I understand, right? It's because it's transparent and they're being clear, as opposed to trying to do something and say, oh, we're just doing this for the good of humanity, and we're doing it because it's good for open source. We love open source. No, you're not. You're doing it because you're trying to get all my data, and you're trying to create another version of me without telling me, which is just, I don't like being fooled.
Interestingly, the very first, and I mean, I just think it was way too early, and the whole concept was confusing and didn't make any sense. But the very first foray into anything like this has completely collapsed, and Meta are discontinuing it. Do you remember that weird thing where they had like AI clones of, say, Snoop Dogg, but it wasn't Snoop Dogg, it was Snoop Dogg playing a dungeon master from Dungeons and Dragons?
Yeah.
Apparently they're discontinuing all that now, which I'm not surprised, because I mean nobody could understand it. It was like, wait, it's a celebrity, but it's not a celebrity, but it is them, but it's not them. But who am I talking to?
Yeah. One person that was cloned this week was the CEO of Ferrari, Frank. Did you see this?
Oh yeah. They had
So,
a very close call.
and interesting, for those who haven't heard, this was just a brilliant story. And we need, by the way, you and me, we have to agree a safe word. We're going to have to figure something out. So what happened was one of the executives in Ferrari got a phone call from apparently the CEO of Ferrari. And apparently it sounded exactly like the CEO of Ferrari, talked perfectly, Italian, I guess, right? And spoke in perfect Italian. But something in the way that it spoke or what it said triggered the executive to just question whether this person was real or not. Now, he said it totally seemed real to him, but he just wanted to check. So to be sure, he asked the CEO of Ferrari just to recommend that book that he had mentioned the other day to him again. What was that book that we talked about? I just need to know about it. And immediately the person hung up. And actually, it was a voice clone of the CEO of Ferrari. So this is, I mean, it's kind of entertaining. It's incredible that it happened, but also it's a signal to the sort of threats that we're going to see in the near future.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see a lot of these, and I think we're going to hear about a lot of them that were not averted as this one was. And it was it was quick thinking on their part to think of something that that only the two of them could know about. But yeah, I think we're going to see an awful lot of this popping up. We should
Frank,
probably, yes.
if I die, what do I want to be turned into?
Well, I'm going to be able to answer that, but so are the millions of people who listen to our podcast.
Damn.
But I mean, it's a good point, because like, everything is so public now, finding something that is truly private or truly unbreakable as a code word is going to be challenging, I think.
Yeah, maybe there's a product there. Who knows? One other story that caught my eye this week was the cute, lovable robot dog. It's a derivative of one of my favorite outdoor toys and entertainment, the Terminator, which we've spoken of before. Which was, for those of you who haven't seen it, it looks a bit like the Boston Dynamic dog. It's got sort of four legs and it jumps around. But the Terminator has a flamethrower on the front of it, which, I mean, we all love a flamethrower. Who doesn't like a flamethrower? And now Robot Dog has got wheels as well. And if there's anything that was going to make it more lovable, it was to give that little dog some wheels to run around. And it can climb stairs with its wheels. Beautiful to watch.
I find it's quite amazing because those Boston Dynamic dogs are terrifying. They're absolutely terrifying. I mean, you just look at them and you
But
just
feel
think,
that, right? And they're cute.
I know. How does that work? I mean, the wheels only make it more capable. The wheels only make it faster
Fast.
at hunting you down. And yet, suddenly, it's like, oh, would you look at that? That's so cute.
Brilliant. Check it out. We'll put a link to it in the comments. I'm not even joking. It does look cute, even though it's scarier, dangerouser, and faster. But brilliant. On that bombshell, Frank, go on.
We're out of time, and we didn't even talk about Google and all of their releases and advancements and how nobody seems to really care. So maybe we revisit that next week.
What's the saying? And it has to be true because it rhymes. Features tell, benefits sell, Frank. Features tell and benefits sell. Nobody cares anymore. Just show me the benefits,
I
because
think
otherwise I'm not buying it.
I think it comes back to that thing that we talked about before as well, of that, Google are just they're not great marketers. So they're doing some great stuff, and they're not wrapping it up. They're not presenting it to us in an exciting way, maybe. Because I genuinely think there's some really cool stuff that they're up to right now.
I think they're making amazing things, right? And they're trying to stitch them together, right? But is it again? Does it come back to it? And this is why people are kind of getting frustrated. It's kind of like, it's great, okay, that you can make this computer that fits in a phone, but how does it benefit me? Like, what do I get of it? Until I think we get agents working, or people see a product that really blows them away, it's almost like we've got AI fatigue at this stage. Yeah, another model, great. So what? Like, does it make any difference to me? No, I don't care.
True. Well, these are two things that we might find ourselves coming back to next week. AI
Google should
fatigue.
stick wheels on it.
What? Say that again.
Google should stick wheels on it.
It's a marketing plan that never fails.
Yes, just make it cuter. Put wheels on it. Then it'll work. Yeah. Very good,
Fantastic.
Frank. Pleasure
I
as
will
always.
chat to you in a week's time, no doubt, with another packed agenda that we won't even get through fully. I will chat to you then.
Talk to you.